Where in the galaxy is Amelia Earhart? Chapter 1. The Flight That Never Landed. The Lockheed Electra droned steadily against the vast Pacific sky, its twin engines humming like a heartbeat Amelia Earhart had long since learned to trust. The horizon stretched endlessly, a blue desert broken only by the faint promise of Howland Island somewhere ahead. She adjusted her goggles, squinting against the glare, and leaned into the radio. KHAQQ to Itasca, static hissed back. She frowned, tapping the dial. Position uncertain. Fuel low. The words dissolved into a wash of white noise. Amelia exhaled sharply. She had faced storms, mechanical failures, and the skepticism of men who thought her ambitions impossible. But this silence felt different, an emptiness that pressed against her chest. She checked her instruments again. Everything was normal. And yet, the sky rippled. At first it looked like heat shimmer, a mirage bending the air. Then the shimmer widened into a wound in the heavens, a curtain of light unfurling in impossible colors. Emerald, violet, gold. Amelia's breath caught. What in God's name? The Electra bucked violently. She gripped the controls, muscles straining. Out of the rift slid a shadow, metallic, angular, alive with fractal light. It was no storm cloud, no earthly craft. The hull glowed with shifting patterns, like constellations rearranging themselves. Her headset crackled with a sound that wasn't static, but a chorus of tones, layered and resonant, as if the universe itself were speaking. Amelia's jaw tightened. "Hold together, girl," she muttered to the plane. "We've flown through worse." But a beam from the vessel pulled her in. The Electra shuddered, gauges spinning wildly. The horizon folded, the ocean stretched into a ribbon of light, and gravity itself seemed to tilt sideways. Amelia fought the controls, sweat beading on her forehead. "If this is the end," she whispered, "let it be flying." The rift swallowed her whole. She opened her eyes to silence. The engines were dead. The cockpit glowed with a faint, alien light. Outside the window, no ocean, only a sky of twin suns and rivers of plasma flowing like auroras across the firmament. Amelia blinked, heart pounding. She unlatched the cockpit door and stepped out onto crystalline grass that shimmered beneath her boots. The Electra rested intact, as if gently placed there. Figures approached, tall, luminous beings with eyes like molten silver. Their robes shimmered with threads of light, and their voices resonated not in her ears, but in her bones. "Skyborne Flame, goddess, you have come." Amelia straightened, brushing dust from her jacket. "I'm Amelia Earhart," she said firmly. "Pilot, not a goddess." But the beings bowed, and behind them loomed a temple carved with glyphs, glyphs that matched the silhouette of her plane. The prophecy had begun. Chapter 2. Durion's Skies. The silence was absolute. Amelia Earhart stepped out of the cockpit, boots crunching against crystalline grass that shimmered like frost, yet pulsed faintly with light. The air was warm, tinged with the smell of pungent metal, and above her stretched a sky unlike any she had ever seen. Two suns blazing in tandem, their light refracted through rivers of plasma that flowed like auroras across the heavens. Her Electra sat intact behind her, its silver fuselage gleaming strangely beneath the twin suns. She touched the wing as if to reassure herself it was real. "Well, girl," she murmured, "we've landed somewhere, just not on any map I know." Movement caught her eye. Figures approached from the ridge, tall, robed beings whose bodies seemed woven from light and flesh. Their eyes glowed molten silver, and their voices resonated not in her ears but in her bones. The tallest raised a hand. "Skyborne Flame. Welcome." Amelia stiffened, instinctively squaring her shoulders. "I'm Amelia Earhart," she said firmly. Pilot, I don't know who this Skyborne Flame is. The beings exchanged glances, their robes shimmering with threads of light. Behind them, carved into the cliff face, loomed a temple. Its glyphs were unmistakable, the winged craft etched in stone, its silhouette eerily similar to her Electra. One of the beings stepped forward, bowing low. The prophecy speaks of a flame-born traveler, carried on wings of fire, who will descend from the skies to unite Durion. You are she. Amelia's jaw tightened. Prophecies are just stories. I'm flesh and blood. I fly planes. I don't fulfill destinies. The leader's voice deepened, reverberating like thunder. Yet the codex of the flame foretold your arrival. The twin suns burn brighter today because the Skyborne Flame has come. She glanced back at her plane, then at the glyphs. The resemblance was undeniable. Still, she refused to yield to mysticism. If you think I'm here to save you, you're mistaken. I'm just trying to get home. The beings did not flinch. Instead, they knelt, their voices rising in a chant that echoed across the crystalline valley. Skyborne Flame. Skyborne Flame. Amelia swallowed hard. For the first time in her life, she felt the weight of something larger than aviation records or daring flights. She had crossed into a world where her arrival was not an accident, but a fulfillment. And whether she believed it or not, Durion believed in her. Chapter 3. The Prophecy Revealed. The Temple of Durion loomed above her, its walls carved with glyphs that shimmered faintly in the twin suns. Amelia followed the luminous beings inside, her boots echoing against crystalline stone. The air smelled faintly of ozone and incense, a strange blend of the mechanical and the sacred. At the center of the chamber sat the Council of Durion, 12 figures draped in robes of shifting light. Their eyes glowed silver, their voices resonant as they debated in tones that seemed to vibrate the very walls. One counselor rose, pointing toward Amelia's Electra, parked outside the temple. The Skyborne Flame has arrived. The prophecy is fulfilled. Another counselor shook his head, robes flickering crimson. She is no savior. She is an intruder, a mortal from a forgotten world. Amelia crossed her arms, standing tall despite the weight of their stares. I don't know your prophecy. I don't know your world, but I do know survival. If you're at war, I can help. If you're not, then I'll find a way home. The chamber fell silent. Then the High Seer stepped forward, carrying a crystalline tablet etched with glowing lines. He held it aloft, and the glyphs rearranged themselves into a vision. A winged craft descending from the skies, piloted by a figure crowned in flame. The Codex of the Flame, the seer intoned. It foretold a traveler who would arrive in our time of greatest need. She would unite Durion's fractured clans and lead us against the Dominion. Amelia's jaw tightened. You're telling me this was written centuries ago, and you think I'm the one? The seer's eyes glowed brighter. Not think, no. The signs are undeniable. The twin suns blaze brighter. The plasma rivers shift, and your craft matches the glyphs exactly. A younger counselor leaned forward, voice sharp. Prophecies are dangerous. They bind us to fate. What if she fails? What if she leads us to ruin? Amelia met his gaze without flinching. Then you'll know I was just a pilot who got lost, but I don't run from storms, I fly through them. The council erupted in debate, voices overlapping in a chorus of light and sound. Some argued for her coronation, others for exile. Amelia stood in the center, calm but resolute, refusing to be swept into their mysticism. Finally, the High Seer raised his hand. Silence fell. The Skyborne Flame has spoken. She does not claim destiny, yet destiny claims her. We will test her. If she can master our skies, she will prove the prophecy true. Amelia exhaled, a wry smile tugging at her lips. A test? Good. I've always preferred proving myself in the air. The council bowed their heads. The prophecy was no longer a story. It was a challenge, and Amelia Earhart had just accepted it. Chapter 4. Cultural Clash. The training grounds of Durion stretched across a plateau of crystalline stone, overlooking rivers of plasma that shimmered like molten glass. Amelia Earhart stood beside her Electra, now retrofitted with alien technology, sleek plasma conduits running along its wings, a humming crystal core embedded in the fuselage. Around her, Durion pilots prepared their own vessels, skyships shaped like crescent blades, sails of light unfurling as if alive. Before each flight, the pilots knelt, pressing glowing crystals to their foreheads in ritual prayer. Amelia watched, arms crossed. "You spend more time bowing than flying," she muttered. The High Seer, who had insisted on overseeing her training, turned sharply. "The ritual aligns the pilot's spirit with the plasma currents. Without it, the skies will reject you." Amelia smirked. "On Earth, we call that superstition. Planes don't care about prayers. They care about skill." The seer's eyes glowed brighter. "Skill without harmony is chaos. You must learn both." Amelia sighed, tugging on her leather gloves. "Fine. But I'll show you what harmony looks like when you're pulling out of a dive at 200 miles an hour. The first flight was chaos. Amelia's Electra roared into the sky, plasma conduits flaring as she banked hard against the twin suns. The Durion pilots followed, their crescent ships gliding gracefully, movements more like dance than combat. "Hold formation," Amelia barked over the comms. "Tighten the line, don't scatter." One pilot hesitated. "But the currents—" "Forget the currents. Trust your wings," Amelia snapped. She dove, pulling the squadron into a barrel roll that left the Durion pilots gasping. Their ships wobbled, struggling to mimic her maneuver. When they landed, the council erupted in debate. Some praised her daring, others condemned her recklessness. Amelia pulled off her goggles, sweat streaking her face. "You want to survive a war? You need discipline. Rituals won't save you when the Dominion's cannons are firing." That night, she sat alone beneath the twin suns, staring at the plasma rivers. A young pilot approached, hesitant. "Skyborne Flame, why do you fight against our ways?" Amelia softened. "Because I've seen storms tear planes apart. I've seen friends vanish into the ocean. You don't survive by hoping the sky loves you. You survive by knowing it doesn't care. And flying anyway." The pilot nodded slowly. Perhaps the prophecy means we must learn your way, not force you into ours." Amelia smiled faintly. "Maybe it means we learn from each other." The next day, she surprised the council. Before climbing into her Electra, she pressed a crystal to her forehead, mimicking their ritual. Gasps echoed across the plateau. She grinned. "Don't get used to it, but if it helps you trust me, I'll play along." The seer's voice resonated with awe. "She bends but does not break. The prophecy unfolds." And so Amelia Earhart began to bridge two worlds, her pragmatism clashing with their mysticism, yet slowly weaving into something greater. Chapter 5. The Queen's Squadron. The plateau had become a training ground. Amelia Earhart stood at its edge, watching the Durion skyships rise into the air like silver crescents, their plasma sails glowing against the twin suns. Her Electra, now retrofitted with alien conduits and humming crystals, gleamed beside them, a relic of Earth reborn as something otherworldly. The Council had given her command of a dozen pilots. They were young, fierce, but untested. To them, she was not just a stranger, but the Skyborne Flame, a figure of prophecy. Amelia refused to let mysticism cloud her judgment. "If they're going to follow me," she thought, "they'll learn discipline first." She paced before the assembled pilots, her voice sharp and steady. Flying isn't about faith. It's about trust. Trust in your craft. Trust in each other. You want to survive the Dominion? You'll need formation flying, not prayers. One pilot raised his crystal helm. But the currents, Amelia cut him off. Currents don't win battles. Maneuvers do. Barrel rolls, tight turns, squadron discipline. You'll learn Earth tactics, and you'll learn them fast. She climbed into the Electra, its engines roaring with alien resonance. "Follow me," she commanded. The squadron lifted into the skies, plasma sails shimmering. Amelia led them into a diamond formation, her voice crackling across comms. "Hold the line. Keep your spacing tight. Trust your wings." The Durion pilots struggled, their ships wobbling against the unfamiliar discipline. Amelia dove suddenly, pulling them into a barrel roll. Gasps echoed across the comms. "Don't fight it," she barked. "Flow with it. Flying is rhythm. Flying is survival." By the time they landed, sweat streaked their faces, but their eyes burned with newfound respect. That night, alarms rang across Durion. Scouts reported Dominion ships breaching the wormhole gates. The council panicked, voices rising in fear. Amelia stepped forward, calm and resolute. "Give me the squadron," she said. "We'll meet them in the skies." The High Seer hesitated. "You would risk your life so soon?" Amelia's jaw tightened. "I didn't come here to hide. I came here to fly." As the squadron prepared for battle, comms crackled with nervous voices. Durion pilot. "Skyborne Flame. The enemy approaches. Their ships are vast." Amelia. "Size doesn't matter. Speed does. Precision does. Remember your training." Durion pilot. "We trust you." Amelia. "Then trust you show them Durion's skies belong to us." The Dominion fleet emerged from the wormhole, dreadnoughts bristling with plasma cannons. Amelia led the charge, her Electra blazing with alien energy. The squadron followed, weaving through plasma storms, striking at the Dominion's flanks. For the first time, Durion's skies rang not with prophecy but with battle cries. Amelia Earhart, once a pilot lost over the Pacific, now commanded a squadron in another galaxy. And as the Dominion ships faltered under her tactics, the prophecy began to feel less like myth and more like destiny. Chapter 6. The Battle for Durion. The skies of Durion trembled. From the wormhole gates, the Dominion fleet emerged, vast dreadnoughts bristling with plasma cannons, their hulls black as obsidian and etched with jagged runes. The air itself seemed to recoil as the ships spread across the horizon, blotting out the twin suns. Alarms rang across the crystalline city. Citizens fled to shelters, their chants of Skyborne Flame echoing in fear and hope. Amelia Earhart stood at the edge of the plateau, her Electra gleaming with alien conduits, her squadron assembled behind her. She pulled on her goggles, voice steady despite the storm. "This is it. Formation Delta. We strike fast, we strike smart. Remember your training." Engines roared. The Queen squadron lifted into the heavens, plasma sails unfurling like wings of fire. Amelia led the charge, her Electra blazing with alien energy. The Dominion dreadnoughts loomed ahead, cannons glowing with lethal light. "Hold the line," Amelia barked over comms. "Diamond formation, don't break." The squadron tightened, weaving through plasma storms. Dominion fighters swarmed, sleek and predatory. Amelia dove, pulling her squadron into a barrel roll that scattered the enemy. Durion pilot. "Skyborne Flame. They outnumber us 10-1. Amelia. "Numbers don't win battles. Precision does. Stay sharp." Durion pilot. "They're cannons." Amelia. "Aim for the generators. Cut their wormholes. Without them, they're stranded." Her commands were crisp, her tone unyielding. The squadron struck at the Dominion's wormhole engines, plasma bolts tearing through their conduits. One dreadnought faltered, collapsing into the plasma rivers below. A Dominion flagship locked onto Amelia's Electra, cannons charging. She gritted her teeth, pulling into a steep climb. The blast seared past her, shaking the plane violently. "Not today," she muttered, flipping the Electra into a dive. She fired plasma bolts directly into the flagship's core. The ship erupted in a cascade of light, fragments scattering across the sky. The squadron cheered over comms. "Durion is free!" When the battle ended, the skies of Durion glowed with victory. The Dominion fleet retreated, their wormhole gates collapsing in sparks. Amelia landed on the plateau, her squadron surrounding her, eyes wide with awe. The High Seer approached, voice trembling. "You have fulfilled the prophecy. The Skyborne Flame has united Durion and driven back the darkness." Amelia removed her goggles. "I didn't fulfill a prophecy. I flew a battle. But if that's what you need to believe, fine. Just remember, it wasn't me alone. It was all of us." The council bowed. Citizens chanted her name. And though Amelia resisted the crown, destiny pressed closer. Chapter 7. Coronation. The crystalline city of Durion pulsed with light. Citizens filled the grand plaza, their voices rising in chants that echoed against the twin suns. "Skyborne Flame! Skyborne Flame!" Amelia Earhart stood at the center, her flight jacket scorched from battle, her goggles hanging loosely around her neck. She had led the Queen's squadron to victory, driven back the Dominion fleet, and saved Durion from annihilation. Yet the Council insisted this was not merely triumph. It was destiny. The High Seer approached, carrying a crown forged from plasma crystal. Its facets shimmered with rivers of light, alive with energy. He bowed deeply. "You have fulfilled the Codex. You are the Skyborne Flame. You must be crowned Queen of the Nebulae." Amelia's jaw tightened. "I'm no queen. I'm a pilot. I flew a battle. Nothing more." The counselors pressed closer, their robes glowing with conviction. "Leadership is not bloodline. It is merit. You united our clans, commanded our skies, and fulfilled the prophecy. Without you, Durion would have fallen." She looked out at the crowd. Thousands of faces stared back, fearful, hopeful, desperate for a symbol. She thought of Earth, of the silence that had swallowed her radio, of the world that believed she had vanished. Here she had not vanished. Here she had become legend. "If I take this crown, it's not because of prophecy. It's because you need someone who won't run," Amelia said. The seer explained, "Prophecy is not chains. It is recognition. You are what we dreamed, but also what you chose. Then I'll choose to lead. But remember, this crown doesn't make me infallible. It makes me accountable," Amelia replied. The seer placed the crown upon her head. Light cascaded across the plaza, plasma rivers shifting in the sky as if the world itself acknowledged her. The crowd erupted in cheers, voices rising like thunder. "Queen of the Nebulae." Amelia raised her hand, silencing them. "I am Amelia Earhart. I was a pilot. Now I am your queen, not because of prophecy, but because together we proved we can fight, and together we will keep on fighting." The plaza roared. The prophecy had become reality, not through mysticism alone, but through courage, discipline, and unity. That night, Amelia stood on the balcony of the crystalline palace, gazing at the twin suns. The crown pulsed faintly on her brow, heavy yet alive. She whispered to herself, "I wanted to find Howland Island. Instead, I found an alien kingdom." And somewhere across the stars, Earth still searched for her. Chapter 8. Legacy. The palace of Durion shimmered beneath the twin suns, its crystalline towers alive with rivers of light. Amelia Earhart stood on the balcony, the crown of plasma crystal resting lightly on her brow. She had fought battles, united clans, and accepted the mantle of Queen of the Nebulae, yet her thoughts often drifted back to Earth, the world that believed she had vanished into the Pacific. She ordered the engineers of Durion to retrofit her Electra once more, embedding it with a transmitter capable of piercing wormholes. "If I can't return," she said, "then at least I can speak." Her voice carried across the stars, fragments of transmission scattering like sparks. "This is Amelia Earhart. I found a new horizon. Don't stop searching." On Earth, decades later, astronomers intercepted faint signals buried in cosmic noise. The words were fragmented, distorted, but unmistakable. Governments debated their authenticity. Was Amelia Earhart alive? Was she ruling an alien kingdom? Under Amelia's reign, Durion flourished. The fractured clans united, their skyships patrolling wormhole gates with discipline she had instilled. Rituals blended with pragmatism. Pilots pressed crystals to their foreheads, then flew in tight formations she had taught. The prophecy had become more than myth. It was history, reshaped by a woman who refused to bow to fate, yet embraced responsibility. On Earth, conspiracy theorists, scientists, and dreamers argued endlessly. Some dismissed the signals as hoaxes. Others believed Amelia had become something greater, a queen beyond the stars. Children whispered her name as legend. Pilots carried her story as inspiration. And in Durion, she was no longer myth but monarch. Amelia gazed at the twin suns, her crown glowing faintly. She whispered to herself, "I wanted to chart the skies of Earth. Instead, I charted the stars." The prophecy was fulfilled. The Skyborne Flame had risen, and Amelia Earhart, once lost over the Pacific, had become eternal. Epilogue, the horizon beyond horizons. The twin suns of Durion dipped low, casting rivers of plasma into twilight hues. Amelia Earhart stood alone on the balcony of the crystalline palace, her crown glowing faintly, her Electra resting in the hangar below like a relic of two worlds. She had become queen, commander, and symbol. Yet in quiet moments she was still the pilot who once charted the Pacific skies, chasing a horizon that had no end. She whispered to herself, "I vanished once. To Earth I was lost, but here I was found." Her words carried into the night, mingling with the chants of Durion's people who sang of the Skyborne Flame. The prophecy had been fulfilled, but Amelia knew prophecies were only beginnings. Leadership was not destiny, it was choice, repeated every day. Decades later on Earth, astronomers continued to intercept faint transmissions. Amelia's voice, distorted but resolute, echoed across the stars. "Keep flying, keep searching. The horizon is never the end." For some, it was proof of survival. For others, it was myth. But for dreamers, it was inspiration. Amelia Earhart had not vanished. She had ascended. On Durion, the queen of the nebulae gazed at the wormhole gates, knowing new battles and new horizons awaited. She smiled, adjusting her goggles and gloves as if preparing for another flight. "History will call me lost," she murmured, "but the stars will remember me found." And with that, Amelia Earhart, pilot, queen, legend, stepped into eternity, her story forever bridging Earth's greatest mystery with the boundless skies of another galaxy. The end. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you.